the recording stopped. So then the JPS solution racked up a debt. And then the hospital racked up a debt that they took my freedom and then making it impossible for me, not to create that debt because I'm handcuffed and forced into it. A $7,000 debt with Parkland. Then we got the scam with the Social Security Administration. The person that was supposed to be getting the benefits said that you have a substantial amount coming. Go talk to them. Then they concocted a scheme to rob me of Social Security benefits from someone else's benefit. And then before they got their con together, they locked up and closed the Social Security Administration. The Dallas Living Room told me that they saw that I was getting benefits through this other party. And then they got a phone call just like the 255th District Court did. And then it interrupted their assistance. So someone is illegally monitoring me and enlisting people to act the way that they are. And the thing of it is just to prove it. So then what the Social Security Administration decided to do, they wanted to add insult to injury. Not only take those funds, but we want to create debt for you. So now I owe the Social Security Administration in malice. The IRS is robbing me of like $10,000. They scammed that I got one stimulus, but the rest of the stimulus checks I haven't got. And then multiple different tax returns. One tax return was supposed to be $7,000. It was $3,000 instead for two dependents. And plus my income wasn't that high. Then I got $3,000 instead. Then the next year I had one dependent. It was supposed to be $3,000. And then they scammed that they didn't give me the tax return because it was a glitch and they needed to see my ID. And I didn't even know what was going on. I had to call the police at that location because I did the IRS tax return and their computer glitched at multiple different hotels and multiple different environments. The computers glitched. What is happening is I'm being controlled. They're covering for crimes. So behind the scenes, they're working for their cover up. If I get on the computer, they know my personality type. That's why they had to hold me up on the computer here in this location. They know my personality type, that I'll get out and fight for my life. So every experience that I'm in has to be controlled down to even purchasing food. Knowing that you never believe my story. So then I called the police at this hotel in Tyler. And I called the police for the very same thing at a hotel that was putting me out before checkout in the scheme in Tyler as well, days in. And I showed him footage where I did this long drawn out report of the crimes to keep me away from my child and the computer malfunction. So when I told my son that the computers malfunction when I use them, I know you guys didn't believe me, but that is a repeated pattern. Also at City Square, when I was there using the computer, I said I kept repeatedly having problems doing all these long drawn out reports. So I said that, someone's hacking this system, and then security came and threatened to ban me for trying to use the computers and reporting that it's hacked. Well, the security is actually my abuser staff. He just drops off his own staff to enforce crimes. So the security's threatening to put me out for reporting that I can't use the computer each time I'm trying to do a report or handle my business. It's glitching and restarts and I get nowhere. This also happened at a library by the PNS Shelter. The police actually came when I was reporting them, and then I got my phone out and they hurried up and fled. So I communicated with them at the PNS Shelter. Communicated with them at City Square where I was using the computer at the Texas Workforce that there's there's Social Security numbers in your system. And for you to enforce that your system stays hacked and take my freedom of speech and my voice away by not letting me report each time I'm using these computers, it malfunctions and it gets me nowhere. I fill out long things, drawn out things to get nowhere. So they were so crooked at Austin Street that I got on the FBI page and they panicked. And then they said that I was banned from the computer lab. And then after, I communicated with Robert, head of security, I said, you do realize that this shelter got panicked when I got on a law enforcement site. Can you explain why this Austin Street staff is intimidated by me being on a law enforcement site? When they realized, what they were doing, then they said that I could use the computer, but it wasn't for that. It was for job searches and, other different things. And I was not able to be on law enforcement sites. That was their con to not go to prison. Austin Street wouldn't give me my mail. The Bridge played games with my mail, and we have evidence that PNS played games with my mail. A sober living environment played games with my mail. Salvation Army played games with my mail. And when I had my own apartment, there were crimes being committed with my mail. And they were so crooked, a letter was certified, and then they lied and said they couldn't find it. And then with the letter, it was supposed to be a follow-up of what happened with Rashida Amfella from the child support, not child support, but CPS. So she sent a certified letter. It was probably a follow-up. But the government's so crooked, they enlist accomplices to crimes. And I think that they took that letter and then it was like literature, nothing with my name on it, how to get records, and she sent that certified. So since they robbed her, they didn't want any evidence of the follow-up of this investigation and corruption. They replaced the mail, I believe, in corruption with all this, literature that didn't have a name that you can pick up at the child support division, just little brochures. That's what they said that was sent certified. But at first they couldn't find it. And then when I got my phone, they told me to come back to get this literature. So at the sober living environment, I was supposed to be getting food stamps and other vital mail and other follow-ups to pertinent cases and different things. And I wasn't getting it. And it also was supposed to be getting things from a toll. And I didn't get that either. So each location I'm at is causing havoc because they're defrauding me out of my mail. Well, I don't know if you can use that terminology, defrauding me, but they're keeping me from my mail in all these locations in corruption, which is a felony. The reason why they're doing this is because I went on this massive campaign. Okay. And I wrote all over the United States. I bought a copier, fax, copier, fax in one, and I did all this to campaign for myself. And since they were crooked and interrupting me out my ability to use computers, I wrote it out. So I wrote it out and I would go to the stores and then stores would copy the paper. And corruption, I didn't realize that it was so controlled and crooked. So the stores would copy the paperwork so they could know what I was writing, how I was reporting them and what I knew. And then they told me that their fax machine malfunctioned multiple different locations. So I realized that these locations were crooked and being controlled, so I could not trust them to fax. So I bought my own fax and I copied things and then I wrote all over the United States. Well, something happened because then I was actually starting to get law enforcement for a minute. And then, they were appeared to be abiding by the law. And then it appeared that the Northern District Court was taking me serious. So what they had to do was they had to start committing postal crimes. And then, so whenever I'm writing, the post offices are aware, and then it's flagged, and my mail is not properly mailed, and I don't receive my mail. There's like a flag for me being targeted. So they follow me and stalk me. I've actually seen people stalking me, and then immediately when I put the mail in, the carrier immediately comes. So then when I saw them, they watched me and monitored me and knew that I was going to mail a letter. And then the postal workers immediately get it out so then it can be controlled. No, you never believe my story. But these are countless felonies. They're not stupid. That's how targeted people live. So in my mail, as a targeted person, they take anything good out of an experience. They want everything to be toxic. I think maybe their strategy is with putting you through so much torture, they want you to commit suicide. I don't know why they do it. But all these different mind games. I think they're deliberately trying to cause a nervous breakdown to get away with their crimes. And they strategize in this environment. If anyone were to do law enforcement, I promise you, when I am settled, when I'm reading, and I'm more peaceful in all my environments, I promise you, avenues are strategized to wipe the smile off my face or the peace off my face. I promise you, just simply do law enforcement. Things were going better. I had a church I was going to. I was getting out and I was comfortable. I was smiling, walking. And then the church scams to where I can't attend it and can't be a part of it. They knew that would be devastating. Then I'm set up with another church. Church is really important to me. Then they have me set up with another church, being introduced into the church, entering it. I can tell it's compromised. And police and sheriff, multiple different police and sheriffs are guarding it. I saw multiple different police, but I didn't see how many sheriffs it was. So we have like 5 or 6 law enforcement at this church to enforce. That is strange, and that they don't help me. That's my option. Then we got this environment toxic, and everybody isolating me. People were giving me rides. I was getting out. I gave them gas money. I build up relationships. They had to interrupt that. Now nobody will talk to me. Everybody hates my guts. This is how I have to live. Then this one party that I have that's still allowed to be a friend, she's controlled. And then she says that no one will want this story. And then, just scamming any kind of way she can to cover for these crimes. And I've had to endure these false friendships like this that are biased. So that's how it is targeted. I'm just trying to prove that I'm legally monitored. When I'm at home or in my environments, I'll get prank calls. I have thefts. Police have actually came before I started recording. They would come from nowhere. Come at bus stops. They just, restaurants, they don't care. Restaurants scamming to ruin your food, them blaming you for it, people threatening you that you don't know. This is how I live. Trapped on trains and buses, kidnapped in taxis, detained, arrested. Then they commit a crime like they did yesterday, and then mistreat you like that, and then deprive you of your voice to report it, and then blame you for it. Then look at how the family court. I just have to live with knowing that there's a possibility if these people don't get be held accountable, I will never be able to see my family again. They're scared. And I have to sit and marinate in knowing that I'm forced to live a lifestyle like this. Location to location to location, the same pattern for years. So I just can't fathom outside of this party that's not supposed to be doing this. What interest does the government have in violating someone like they have violated me? Well, how would it benefit the government to repeatedly do this and get away with it year after year? What interest does it have, or does the government have, for enforcing crimes on people, thefts, that people steal things from someone, defraud them out of funds? How can that benefit this country? What's it to the country? Why would it benefit the country to steal someone's food stamps and then deprive them of further benefits for food stamps and then blame them for their crimes? So the thing that's provoked this was this letter with this huge debt, which other debts that were created. Then I've had weird things. I started to have this upload this video, but I just decided not. So I had an apartment complex scam in Denton. The apartment complex I signed in 6 months lease, they altered the lease and put a year. So when it was time for me to move out, they said, no, you have. I said, what are you talking about? No, I told them 6 months. And they tried to enforce that. In this apartment complex, it was also weird. I bought a lot of groceries, which was not normal. I, had funds to buy a whole bunch of groceries, and I bought ice cream. And then the lights got cut off. I paid my light bill. It was an apartment complex. They lied and said it was some kind of error that had us in the heat for days and my food ruining. I said, well, you're going to have to pay for these groceries. Then they told me that I could move up all the food to another apartment that was upstairs. I needed knee replacement. And I said, what has happened for my lights to be cut off that you have done? Because I called the light company and they said it wasn't them. Then my apartment complex took the fall for whatever was happening. I didn't know I was targeted. So then I have this eviction, and then I have the other eviction for when I was in jail on false charges. That's a debt of $7,000. They knew I was fleeing abuse. All the legal aids deprived me of assistance that can be taken off my record. PNS deprived me of assistance to help with that. It was deliberate. They wanted me to have debt. So now they're enlisting all parties to leave me in a problem that was purposely created. So not only did they not, if they were going to evict me, they could have done it in a timely manner and not let it build up to $7,000. And then I called when I was released to get information on what was happening. They hung up in my face. They wanted me to sit in that. And I called the city to see if they evicted me. And the city wouldn't tell me and kept hanging up in my face. They wanted me to sit and marinate and not know what was going on. And I had to start recording to get some feedback. Actually, they didn't tell me until they told me at PNS. They had me pull up the credit report. Then I saw the $7,000 debt. She said that she was going to help negotiate. Then she said she quit. Then the other party, Venus, would not help me. And then this other party that quit was also at Millwood helping me get violated. And I said, what are you there? Or why are you here? Miranda from PNS was also there too at this location where I was getting violated. knowing you wouldn't believe my story, that these people are enlisted to play the same mind games I experienced at all my locations. The getting in line, them leaving, it's different kind of avenues to torture someone and then remain under the radar and like it's not really happening. If I ask for tea, they'll give me juice. If I say I don't have bread, they'll give me 2 pieces of bread. If I say I don't want bread, the opposite of everything. They let someone come at me with a stick on camera footage and then blame me for it. Then they let all these people gang stalk me, interrupt me talking, threatens people they have to scam that they don't know me, so they let people threaten me that pretend like they're mentally ill to get away with it. Then they have these toxic groups you have to attend. They won't give mental health treatment. People saying that they were raped, molested, all kind of insanity. The groups are hijacked and very toxic. It's really distressing to be in these groups that are staged. So this is what these people are setting up, and they're scamming that they work. They're actually my abuser and the government staff, and they're enlisting parties into her harassment and gaslighting campaign, knowing that you'll never believe it. So then I believe that there's a plan here on this environment. I don't know if how they're doing it, but they have them play all this mind games with, gaslighting things, and then they have people gang stalking me and then we're doing peculiar things. So with this environment, I'm not sure though how long they'll let me be here because it's only a certain amount you can do. So they just do like the gang stalking video. They just do petty things when I'm gone to let me know they've been here, and you're not supposed to be any wiser to know that they're actually doing this. But I like to be around people, and I'm ostracized and isolated. So nonetheless, I don't know how to expose that there is indeed a conspiracy. I find it highly peculiar that we have a mailbox, but they wanted me to see this letter. And then the stepmom called me and lied and said that my daughter wanted to send a letter, but indeed she wanted me to be upset with this massive child support debt. That's really what she wanted, but they have used my daughter as leverage to hurt me for years, repeatedly over and over. Armies full of people. So I don't know if I stated this, but the same kind of behavior happened in Hill County Jail. So when they had tortured me at church, they made sure that it was prearranged that when I was at church trying to enjoy the sermon, that they had subpoenaed me for this court date for my child custody rights with my daughter. So CPS subpoenaed me to go to court when I was in jail on false charges. Well, they're not going to let me go because they're taking bribes. So they're taking bribes to keep me away from my child. So they wouldn't let me go to court, and the 255th District Court had to con, because if it's regarding the termination of someone's child custody rights, they have to let you go to court. So the court was, the 255th District Court subpoenaed me multiple different times when I was at church, and I believe it was deliberately done in front of everyone so I can be publicly humiliated. So nonetheless, that happened multiple different times. So the CPS did not follow the family code. And I did not go to court. That's against the family code. If you're terminating my rights, I'm supposed to be there to defend myself. They didn't do that. In addition to that, they made provable false statements because I wrote letters to the Waco FBI and the 255th District Court, which you cannot open online now. And I did record videos, but I decided not to upload it. So they have all the cases closed where you can't view it online, but I'm telling them everything that's going on in all these different letters and correspondence. So I communicated with the 255th District Court. James Hastings and Regina Harris made numerous false statements, like 40, and you can see those false statements by the correspondence that I sent to multiple different parties through the mail in jail. And the mail is supposed to be copied and monitored. So that gave evidence that they blatantly lied because all they had to do was just review the mail that I had mailed out while I was in Hill County Jail. So they got caught in that. So what 255th District Court, because they were accomplices, they had to let these parties disappear to not be held accountable. But now it's a horrible mess because now 255th District Court has terminated my rights on their own and eliminated CPS from any kind of accountability for their crimes. So they had to rescue CPS, but instead they caused a mess for themselves. Now it looks like they have terminated my rights with no CPS investigation and no reporter. But they felt that was better than holding James Hastings accountable for not following the family code and misconduct. it showed a lot of corruption and lies, and they also need to protect this man. If it shows that CPS, the teachers, and all these conspirators lied, then it would show evidence that someone is behind that. Why would they just blatantly lie on me that many times? So that it's strategic, and they're deliberately trying to find an avenue to protect this man that's paying all these people. Well, that's 20 minutes, back to square one about trying to get peace until they create something else. It's just back to back to back to back. I read, I get grounded, text, nonsense, knocks, mail, just something. And it is what it is. I've had to endure it years.